Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to teach you how to control buffer bloat using the NetDuma R3 gaming router. The first thing we need to do is go ahead and log into our R3. I prefer to do these tests on a wired connection. If a wired connection isn't available to you, that's okay. Wireless will work, it just won't be as accurate. Once logged into the R3, we're going to head over to Ping Optimizer, which will open up a menu. In that menu, we can optimize our ping, test our ping, look at our test history, or click the Advanced tab in the bottom right-hand corner. Clicking into Advanced brings up another menu, and we get some options. First one is Run Full Test. If we turn this on, it will run more tests to see if we can get a more accurate result. Below that is Simple and Expert mode. Simple mode only works for download. Expert is for both download and upload. Below that, we have our congestion control sliders. For those familiar with Duma OS, you already know how this works. However, for those new to Duma OS, congestion control allows you to cap your download and upload by a little bit, getting rid of something called buffer bloat. Buffer bloat is undesired latency that can happen when you are downloading or uploading. So let's say you're playing a game, somebody hops on Netflix that pulls some bandwidth. Oh no, you get a lag spike. Same thing can happen on the upload side. Somebody decides to upload something, it can cause a lag spike. So you cap your download and upload by a little bit so those lag spikes don't happen. Below that, we have some more congestion control settings. We can always have congestion control on. We can have it on auto, which will recognize when games are happening and turn the congestion control on just for games. And then we have low latency only, which I don't mess with. Below all of that is a new option called Speed Test Bypass. When Speed Test Bypass is turned on like it currently is, it will bypass the speed test so the congestion control sliders are not recognized. Keep in mind here that Smart Boost is still doing its work in the background. So if we head back to the main page of the Ping Optimizer and we go to run a test, it's gonna take a couple of minutes. It's gonna try to figure out what the best upload and download are for my connection. And as you can see, it actually says 100% is good. Are we sure about that? Well, we'll click finish and we're gonna go ahead and run a second test. Now, something to note here. Every now and again, the speed test, Ping Optimizer test can fail. This is because they use an outside service for Ping Optimizer and speed test. If you see one of these tests fail, try again later. It's no big deal. Of course, you can use other methods to fix your buffer bloat, which I will show you. And of course, there are other speed tests out there. All right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to put our congestion control sliders at 100, 100. This is gonna make sure that we have full bandwidth. Also, we're gonna turn our congestion control settings to auto and make sure there is no gaming going on whatsoever so that it doesn't get ticked and turn itself on while we're running these tests. We're also gonna make sure Speed Test Bypass is on. Again, this bypasses the congestion control sliders so that you get full speeds. All right, now that we're done all that, we're gonna head over to Waveform. We're gonna run a test. A lot of people freak out when they don't see an A+. Yo guys, an A is okay. A is still okay. What you're really looking at, you have your unloaded latency, so that's your latency without any load on your download or upload. Then you have your download active, and that's when there's some downloading going, what the added latency would be, and your upload active, again, same case. So those are still not great. You want zeros, but +8 and +2, it isn't too bad. And we scroll down and we look at the bar graph down below. You can see here's our unloaded. It's got a very tiny bar. And there's a lot of numbers and stuff going on to look at, but the one we're really trying to look at is max. So our max without any load on my connection is 24.3 milliseconds. So that's not too bad at all. It's not incredibly low, but it's not terrible. Now, with a download being started, you can see I have a spike max of 105.8. So compared to that 23, that is huge. And that is what we're trying to control by adjusting those sliders. We want to make sure that we don't have those big spikes. We want to keep those spikes to a minimal. Now, it is the internet, things will still happen, but we want to control it the best we can. Same with the upload side. We can look at our max and make sure we're not having any crazy spikes compared to our max of our unloaded latency. So we now know that we have some download issues, not so much on the upload. And what we need to do about that is start sliding our sliders and doing more testing. So to do that, we're gonna turn congestion control on by turning congestion control to always on. We're gonna turn off the speed test bypass. Again, this bypasses the speed test so that it gets full speeds no matter what. Asterisk, the smart boost system in the background is still doing everything it can to make sure you're still having a smooth experience, whether you're watching video, playing games, etc. And the system is so good, in fact, that's why you can still sometimes get away with 100 sliders like I did earlier. So now that those sliders are still at 100%, but I'm now activated for congestion control, we run another test. Hey, you can see the smart boost and congestion control, again, working in tandem. I've gotten rid of that buffer bloat with a 0, A+, but that's really, no matter what we're looking at, is what are those spikes like? And we went from 105 milliseconds down to 36, and the upload is right about the same. So, you know, it is the internet. It can fluctuate a little bit here and there. One test may say one thing, one may say another, especially times of day. If you're in an apartment complex, for example, you know, everybody gets home in the evening, do some tests in the evening to see if it's comparable to tests you may have done earlier in the daytime. This is where things become a little bit tricky, is you have to be willing to kind of figure out what works best for your connection, and what works great one day may not work great the next. And the reason for that, again, is it's the internet. So what I like to do is set for the lowest common denominator out of everything when I'm running tests. So if I run a test on Monday, nobody's home, nobody's in the apartment complex, it's just very quiet, and the congestion control sliders set themselves, you know, to like 97, 98%, or even 100% like you saw earlier, then hey, that's all good. But what about when everybody's home? So we run some more tests when everybody's around to see what we can get for our best results. Now we're gonna slide those sliders down to 70%. We're capping our bandwidth at 70% of my download and upload. So 70% of 555, 70% of 22. My congestion control setting is always on so that I can see that those sliders are actually doing something, and my speed test bypass is off. Again, we have speed test bypass on. It is going to try to give us our full speeds minus any adjustments that happen with our smart boost. So we head back over to Waveform and we run yet another test, and we look at our results, and you'll see they're basically the same. We have pretty much no buffer bloat going on. The upload doesn't like it as much when you adjust it, at least in my connection. We get an A+, we get a 0. Still a lot better than the 100%, because the 100% was that 105. We take a look when we dig in. Sure, our max did go up. It was like 23, now it's at 27. That again is okay. From test to test, it's going to fluctuate, and that's fine. What you're looking for is those maxes to be as low as possible and to not have giant max spikes into the hundreds of milliseconds or more. So you can see all those bars are now nice and even, and we have a smooth buffer bloat experience. So when somebody starts to upload or download, those spikes, they won't affect your game in the same way as a 100 millisecond spike. You may see some fluctuation, but it won't go crazy. All right, now that we've done all that, we found the sweet spot at 70, we're gonna go ahead and put it back on auto. That way when we're gaming, it automatically turns on the congestion control system. We're gonna turn speed test bypass back on, because hey, you may forget and then run a speed test and be like, why am I not getting full speeds? It's because you had your stuff on always on instead of the other way around. I really hope this video was helpful to everybody. If it was, please let me know in the comments section. And until the next time, as always, take it easy.